Hello everyone, and welcome to Math 1314 College Algebra for Summer 1. My name's Terry Barnes, and I'll be helping you on this pretty quick journey through the course. I wanted to take this opportunity in the orientation video to show you how the course is structured, where everything is, and the expectations for you. So let's kind of look at the front screen. You're here, you see up here announcements, homework and tests, gradebook, assessments, class list, content, etc. So here's where your announcements will show up. You could go to all of them at once here, but this is the main place that you're going to be looking. And then your course content, I've put everything that I think you need to have right here. And so I think that will help you do your work. Now, let's just go through these things as we can look at them. So this is your instructor plan or your syllabus, and I'm not going to read all of it, but I do want to go through some things. Office number is here. I'm not in the office during this summer, but if you called me, it would convert to an email and I'd be able to get that. So, and these are conference times, but that is really for fall and spring, so that doesn't really apply to us. So required text, you don't have to buy a book. You got this course through inclusive access, and that means you don't have to purchase a book. The electronic course is included in your tuition payments. You do need a TI 83 or 84 graphing calculator. If you have like a TI Inspire, and you're very proficient with that, then you use that and that's fine. I teach to the 83 and 84, so, but if you have your own and you know what to do with it, then you should be fine. We'll move through some of this that you could read on your own. This is about course attendance and participation, and it does say, let's see where it is about the online. If you miss 25% or more of assigned work for an online course, you'll be withdrawn with a grade of W. And so how is that going to happen? We'll talk about that in the calendar a little bit, in the instructor plan later. But you need to work each week. And of any week that you don't do some work, that becomes an absence for you. So we'll talk about that again here in just a minute. This is the basic calendar, and you see there's not dates. It just says week 1, week 2, and it's not hard, fast. We'll look at the calendar by itself, but this is the piece that's in the instructor plan, and it shows you generally what we're going to cover in the 6 weeks. Let's get down to grading information. So your course is divided into homework, tests, and a final exam. The homework counts 30% of your average. You can do the homework over and over again till you get the grade you want, which hopefully is 100. We'll look at the homework when we get to that point, but overall it counts 30% of your average. Tests count 50% of your final average. And it tells you right here, and this is important in red, before each test is available, all the homework for that chapter must be completed with at least a 70 on each item. If it doesn't, for an online course, it's just not going to open for you. The test won't even open unless you've passed the homework. And then the final exam counts 20% of your final average, and it is cumulative. It covers everything. So those are the main things that I wanted to cover for you. You could read the rest of it, but those were the important things. Now, attendance for this online course, I said we would look at this. So it'll be based on participation in the course. You should have activity, homework, or test in the course each week. Meaning, if you go in week 1 and you work on one homework, that's going to count you present. If you do all of chapter 1 and 2, you're still present. You have to do something. You have to work on something, whether it's one homework question or a whole test, but you have to do something. and I will run a report each week on Sundays to determine activity, and any week that you didn't log any work, that'll count as an absence. And you're allowed 2 of those inactivity weeks before you could be dropped. And you'll get an email on an activity report every week that you're on that. And on the 3rd time, you could be dropped for not inactivity. So keep that in mind. It's easy to stay off the bad list, right? All right, let's go back to our front screen. Okay, so important student resources. You may read through those. We're not going to go over them in the syllabus. Here's your calendar. Let's look at that. And we talked about it in the instructor plan. So this is suggested. Here's week 1, week 2, week 3, 4, 5, 6. It's just a division. It's actually putting 1 and 2 and that test in week 1 plus a calculator test. Week 2 is chapter 3, week 3 is chapter 4, week 4 is 5, and week 5 is chapter 6, and week 6 would be review and take the final. Now, if you stick to that, that's great, but there's no penalty or reward for doing that. So this is just a suggestion. But if you go in and you do 3 weeks worth of work in 1 week, that's awesome. In the 4th week, you still need to do a problem to be present. Now, if you finish everything, you finish the course early, then you email me in case I haven't noticed that, and I take you off the attendance issue. So once you finish the course, you don't have to go in and work on anything. So hopefully that makes that sense. Let's go back to the front. Okay, now we get to where the meat of the course. This is where if you were in a regular class and I might say get your book out and turn to page 40, we're going to look at this topic. Well, we've got problem sets for you to look at, lecture notes to look at, and videos. So let's click on that button and start with the problem sets. And we start with chapter 1 and 2. Let's go to 1.3. So here's some problems. And we go through here, and there are, let's see how many we have, 12. I think there's 12 in this practice. So you may or may not know how to do these. If you've had high school algebra 2, you might. But if not, or you need some refreshing, that's what we're going to do in this course. So here's the problems. Print those or have them up on your screen, and then let's go look at the lecture notes. So here's the lecture notes. Let's go to lecture notes, chapter 1 and 2. We'll go to 1.3. Now, if you were in my face-to-face class, you would see these things up on the screen, and we would talk about what's a function, what's not a function, vertical line test, etc. We'd go through all of that, and we'd look at this chart and study that. And then we would get to those problems, and you would have a set of those problems to work on in class with me. And so here you can see the answers are here for all of these. If it's a graphing question on the screen, then I've shown you some things to look at. But you can see that I've gone through and all of the work is there to get the answers. Now, maybe that's enough for you to get through it, but often it is not. So let's go back and look at the video. So we've pulled the problem sets, we've looked at the lecture notes. Let's go here to the videos. This isn't one of my YouTube channels. This one's for college algebra. If we click on chapter 1 and 2, we get a list, a playlist of those sections. So if you play this one, you're going to get the information, except it's me talking and going through the information. So you have, for every section that we cover, a practice problem set, lecture notes about that, and a video of me working those problems. So that's going to get you ready for your homework. Let's go back to do that. All right, so let's say you have gone through 1.3 and you looked at the problems, you looked at the lecture, you watched the video. So now you're ready to go up here to homework and tests. And when that comes up, Here's 1.3, and you'll note the due date for all of your work is July 8th at noon. That's for everything. And so you can start this right now. If we click on that, there were 12 questions, I think, in our problem set. There's 12 questions here. Usually it's going to mirror because I created it that way, but sometimes it may not be exact. Anyway, if we go to number 1, and I believe it was one of these right in interval notation, and you would have learned to do that. You would have watched the video or looked at the lecture notes, and you'd know how to do that. But you note there's nothing down here right now. But if I click in the box like I'm going to put my answer, we've got this. And if we're going to put an interval notation, we may need an ordered pair set. But let's just put that, and let's put some numbers in here, because that's not really what we're going to have. But say I thought that, and we put that. And then I said, check my answer. It says that's incorrect because I've used the wrong symbols. Recall that a parenthesis is indicated if the endpoint is not included, and a bracket if it is. So it's going to give you a hint. We'll say, okay, I'm not going to change it and do it again. You get some more information or the same thing. Final check. All right, it says the correct answer was a bracket and a 3 and then an infinity. And I answered 1/8. So I know now how to do that problem. So at this point, I could just say, all right, give me a similar question. And when I do that, it just changes the numbers, and I can try again. If I didn't do that, I could go through the whole assignment, leaving that one question wrong, and then I could do it again later. But that's how that works. Now, what if you've tried it a bunch of times and you're really stuck and you want my help? The best way to get that is to come down here to the bottom where it says get more help, ask my instructor, and it'll come straight to me. It'll tell me what your question is, and I'll see this. So you don't have to explain it. You can just say, hey, I've tried this. I don't see what I'm doing wrong, or whatever it is that you want to tell me or ask me, you can put in this box, and then you hit send, and it comes straight to me. This makes sure that you're not just saying, hey, I don't know how to do number 1, or I don't get, you're giving me very specific questions to help you with, and that's what I can do best for you. So keep that in mind if you need help on a homework. And then you'd be done with that. Let's go out of this. So the thing that we haven't talked about is you do have a calculator test, and you have an infinite number of tries. So you can take that test over and over again until you get 100. You have 90 minutes every time you do it. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. When you've done all this homework, you're ready for chapter 1 and 2 test. Here's a flag that says you got to have a 70 on all those. And over here it tells you you've got 2 hours and 2 tries. So every chapter test, you have 2 tries to get the highest grade. And if you take it twice, only the high grade will figure in your average. And there's 2 hours for that one. And then here we have 2.5 hours. It's a little bit more. And down here we have 2 hours, 90 minutes on chapter 6. It's pretty quick. It's multiple choice. And then the final exam is 2.5 hours, and you only have 1 try on it. So keep that in mind for studying and for work. And you'll note everything is due July 8th at noon. So I think that's all about your homework. Let's go back. Here is my contact info, which is in the syllabus as well. Handouts, there is something called the yellow packet, and that is a lot of formulas and a lot of how-tos. It might be worth printing and just having as you do your homework and as you do your tests. It would be something that would be good to have out. If you use a TI Inspire, this helps you with some of the functions that you may not know how to do on your Inspire. So there's that. And then there's the e-text if you want the book. Calculator help, let's look at that. At the top it has some apps for the calculator. So if you don't own your own, if you have an Android phone, you could go here and look for this Calc 84. You could go to the iPhone App Store and get either of these two, and they work really well, very much like the TI 83 or 84. So that might help you. And let's go back. So back in here, that was the phone apps. There are some worksheets and videos for how to do things on the calculator. They're not for a grade. They're just there if you want help. And then if you get ready to do the calculator exam, here is a review video for you. And so when we go there, it's on YouTube. So when you're watching it, I don't know what that is. Don't know why that is there. That's bad. Hold on, let me get rid of that.
For the calculator exam, and I'll be working the question.
Okay, so I didn't know that commercial thing was there. I apologize for that. But anyway, this is the review that you can print and try yourself. It has the answers here. But if you'll listen, this is how it's going.
With you, although on the answer sheet are the answers if you want to just check yourself there. So the first one says, put this equation and find the solutions. Be very cognizant of the fact that you have a minus at the beginning. If you're not watching that real carefully, you might miss something. So negative, baby negative, x to the third. That's how you do to the.
At any rate, you are seeing how I'm doing it, and then you go through and you'll see what happens on the calculator and how you get the answers. So I would go over that review video before you take the calculator test, and remember you can take that one over and over again. So, last thing is final exam review, and if we click on that, here it is, and it says study the following homework problems in prep for the final exam. So in chapter 2, 2.1, look at these 3 questions. So this just helps you focus on certain questions to be prepared for the final. So there is that. I think that should get you going, and I look forward to working with you. Don't hesitate to call on me, email me, do an Ask My Instructor. When you get stuck, work hard. We will be done by July 8th. So don't sit back and think you've got a lot of time, because you only have 5.5 weeks actually. All right, good luck. I look forward to working with you.